it's out. After a long and at times nerve-wracking 1,000-mile trip by road to Barcelona, INEOS Britannia's AC75 has now been wheeled out of the shed. She's the fourth of the new AC75s to be revealed, and she's another very interesting design. But before looking into the detail that we can see, two overall comments. The first is that the new machine looks similar to the three boats that we've seen already. Given that this is the second iteration of the rule and the third generation of AC75s, it's what you would expect as design teams start to gravitate towards a certain part of the rule. This will perhaps come as a relief to those who worried that a radical design might be on the way. Those with long memories will know that this has been a common trait for British America's Cup campaigns, and it has never worked. The second point is that for all the analysis of the hull shape, the foils and overall control systems will play a huge part in the performance of the boat, and that's before we start considering reliability. So far, the early reports from the three teams that have been sailing suggest that they're all pleasantly surprised at just how easily the new generation get onto their foils. With boats being around 1 ton lighter this time around, that's going to have a lot to do with it. Nevertheless, the hull shape is still going to be important. So what can we see? One of the most striking features is the dead straight skeg profile that ends abruptly some distance in front of the rudder stock. A Linghi's skeg runs the full length with the rudder stock passing through it. The same is true for the Kiwi boat, while the Italian skeg tapers into the stern. On the face of it, and when viewed in profile, Britannia's bow sections look like a scaled up AC40, but from dead ahead, Britannia is a far more complex shape. The bow entry itself is very fine, with the sections flaring out significantly. But the particularly interesting bit is how full the lower sections of the bow are. This could be to help cope with the notorious Barcelona sea state and avoid the chances of burying the bow. It could also be to achieve the minimum volume requirement under the rule. Whatever the reason, it's a far more sophisticated shape than the configuration of the team's previous AC75. Like the Italian boat, she has very flat and beamy sections running aft. The shear line does show some signs of having been sculpted around the aeroflow over the deck, but to a lesser degree than the other three. Meanwhile, the foils are under cover, but they look broadly similar to those of the Kiwis, which are T-foils with small winglets at their tips. Like the Kiwis, they extend from the after end of the cantarm. But the Kiwi foils are from the previous boat and unlikely to be the ones that they use come the Cup. So, as I say, this is a boat that looks far more like she belongs to the third generation of AC75s. Last time the British boat looked out on her own. Given that last time around, foiling in light winds and reliability were two of the major issues for the British team, the real proof of the pudding for the Brits this time will start to be seen once she's launched.